So as we begin the next chapter, we see all of Mazgus's torturers in their enhanced pseudo-apostle selves. The big beefy one on the end with the torture wheel that looks like Bane, he's my favorite.
You're a big guy.
For you.
Here, even in a monstrous form, Mazgus holds strong to his faith, believing he is still doing God's work. And some humorous exposition from Jerome and Isidro happens, where Jerome explains that this is the guy that the Holy See has been trying to track down for the last 2 years, but he doesn't know why. Talking about Guts, of course. And Jerome is also able to see Puck sitting on top of Isidro's head, showing that his faith wasn't all that strong to begin with anyways. But 5 opponents of this caliber of power at once proves to be difficult, as Guts is almost hit multiple times, and even almost has his one good eye taken out. But once again, he resorts to biting a weapon to block it. And you know, with all the times he's done this now, it's a wonder he has any teeth left. But it's still not enough of a defense when Bane knocks him through a wall. And just then, Farnese shows up. And as I forgot to mention last time that Guts left Farnese behind after leaving the torture room, he told her to do whatever she wanted, just not to get in his way. And even after being captured by her, whipped, and put through this ordeal, Guts never left any direct resentment towards Farnese. There's no place for it. Guts is now driven by a new dream. Protect Casca. Anything else is just a stone in the way. And here's Farnese, whose entire worldview was shaken by Guts, seeing him first not give a second thought towards her, and now seeing him face monsters once again. Cutting back to the base of the tower where Skull Knight had rescued and set down Luca, she remarks at how seeing a figure that looks like death standing among a pile of dead bodies is like the real world is starting to crack. And not only is this perfect foreshadowing and word use, crack, I'll get to that here shortly, but this is what Berserk has been gradually leading to piece by piece. Never jumping too far ahead of itself, except maybe on occasion in the Black Swordsman arc when it was still getting its footing, but something is happening in the world of Berserk that is beyond the reader's perspective. The world itself is on the brink of a change so large the entire populace of the planet will be affected, and we only get a little glimpse of it here and there when our protagonists are near some sort of the action. That's another thing that's so great about this series. It doesn't spoon-feed you anything. Sure, there are moments of extended exposition, as we will get shortly, and there will be much more of that coming up soon, but Miura feeds you clues and nuggets, and it's up to you to see the larger picture. Whatever creature is down here has a part to play in this, and this creature makes an attack towards the Skull Knight, who easily deflects its tentacle-like legs, but it does manage to jump over the Skull Knight and grab Luca, hopping away incredibly fast. From what we've seen before in the Heretic Cave and when it crept up above Mazgus, this thing is exceedingly crafty and quick. It takes Luca to a shrine of sorts, lit by candles, and a cross-shaped pillar is erected, mimicking that of the Holy See symbol, and draped over it with the flesh of skinned priests. The very ones that the Holy See have been looking for the culprits of, and torturing innocent people for the crime, now clearly shown to have been done by this apostle. The creature out of sight begins to speak to Luca, and after she asks it, it actually tells her who it is. And what we have here is a really interesting case. This is an apostle, but before that was a man with no name. Deformed and living at the base of the tower by himself, no family, no friends, alone, scrounging with the rats to survive, and being cast away by people when he just tried to go up and see the world. So in solitude, he dug himself a hole where he could be away from everything. And don't I know the feeling. And then, when the plague hit and the tower started to do what it does, they began tossing the dead bodies down the hole that he dug, not even realizing that someone was down there. And over time, he became buried with bodies to the point where he could no longer survive. But he held on closely to a small object he had found one day, a Balet. He called the God Hand in his despair, and he specifically mentions that 5 angels showed up to save him. So this was after Griffith had joined the God Hand, within these last 2 years. But we have a small conundrum as far as the apostle exchange goes. We know to become an apostle you have to sacrifice someone you love. But what if you truly have nobody in your life? Nothing to give up as a sacrifice? Well, every Balet is preordained to be a specific person's, so this wasn't by accident. There was a plan for him all along in the string of causality. We see the apostle for the first time after being hidden in mystery for so long, and it bears the same appearance as a Balet itself, but of course much larger. And this apostle's tongue bears the brand of sacrifice, so that means he is both an apostle and a sacrifice. instead of sacrificing someone else for ultimate power as seen before. In this case, it will sacrifice itself to bring forth its wish, not for power, but for a perfect world. As this apostle is known and aptly called the egg of the perfect world, and it goes further than that. As the egg watched over its surroundings, symbolized in the hovering eyes we've seen time and time again that I said reminded me of the Great Gatsby, it saw how needlessly people died and constantly lived in fear and pain. How the system of oppression ruled over them, and how they bought into that system, clinging on to the things that broke their souls simply because they were never told or shown another way, and because, let's face it, they just weren't allowed under the fear of their own death. He saw their escapism in the form of the heretic orgies. He saw their governing systems of order forcing horrors upon the people. He watched it all from his little corner and came to realize and understand how ugly the world truly is. And, he has a point. Humanity left to their own devices, and this is what they came up with. And the egg wants to change this. He wants to give people a perfect world by sacrificing himself to bring about the one thing that will make that happen. Dun dun dun, the Hawk of Light. And so we have the catalyst for Griffith's arrival back into our world. And a rather good one it is, too. I always hand it to Miura for flipping the script on general ideas of good and evil. We've seen firsthand how cruel and disgusting the world of demons can be. But what is on the other side of that? Humanity. Are they even much better as a collective whole? The world of Berserk is grim, cruel, and unrelenting, and that's without the demons involved. Just the world of man, and mankind may have had a hand in creating the evil of apostles to begin with. I'm not going to go back into the idea of evil concept once again right here, but if people all collectively are wishing for a savior, that collective world of idea will and has created one. And it will be Griffith, desired by man, desired by demons, a savior to bring peace to it all. He states he's been watching Luca too, and that though he's mostly been observing, he's been gently nudging things into place for this event to take place, such as causing the commotion at the heretic cave or giving Mazgus powers. When asked by Luca why he's telling her all this, he just states he wanted someone to know before he's gone. And that's a good way to get exposition out, but also it makes sense character-wise, as the egg has never had anyone in its life. He'd want to tell someone this one thing, and it's someone he's observed for some time and who he knows is a good, reliable person. But before anything else is said, Skull Knight returns, coming down with a sword strike, but missing once again. The egg hops away, and Skull Knight thinks to himself that there was a hesitation in his swing. He was thinking it was not time to kill him yet. And if Miura could ever give us a little bit of info on Skull Knight's ability to see the flow of fate and what he's actually able to do to stop it, that would be nice. But he grabs Luca once more and jumps the hell out of there. And yes, I do still totally ship these two together. But back during the fight between Guts and the Torturers, the other characters look on with astonishment at Guts' abilities. Nina begins to cower in fear as a reaction to what she's witnessing, and as Farnese sees Nina crouch down, she relates it to her own inner thoughts. The thoughts that whenever Guts is around, her worldview is shaken, and it even states that her imaginary cloak of faith is illuminated in his presence. Farnese was never truly religious. She found an outlet and ran with it. Ignored as a child, she found a place of belonging where she would burn the heretics and the adults would cheer. It made her feel needed and wanted, desired and useful, as she is someone who so desperately craves that approval. And so faith was all she had to cling on to, and when it was questioned, she would lash out. She couldn't be wrong, because it would mean that she wouldn't have a place of belonging. Unrelated to that, Mazgus decides to leave the fighting to his minions and is heading out to fly away with Casca to take her to be burned. Isidro attempts to stop him and winds up on his back as he flies off. And we have an attempt at humor which feeds into why I don't like Isidro, but I have enough to talk about in this video, so I'll save that for another time. The Torturer, wearing the Black Death Doctor bird mask, flies up and grabs onto Guts' face, stopping him from running after Mazgus. Guts is then smashed by the Wheel Torturer Bane again and again until Guts finally manages to reach his left arm and fire his cannon. And like once before, uses the momentum of that blast to spin around and slice another one, and then stab him good when it comes in for the final strike. 2 Torturers dead for the price of 1. With the 2 small Stockies Torturers flying off with Mazgus, that just leaves the bird mask one left here. He flies in fast, and Guts manages to swing his sword in time before his torture device could reach Guts' neck. But Guts isn't without a little bit of injury here. Okay, a lot of it. They might not have been full-fledged apostles, but they weren't easy. Guts and the others realize that Farnese has been watching them, but no one has time to really say anything before the tower starts to rumble. And then things begin to crash all around them. It's coming from beneath the tower where Skull Knight and Luca are. The spirits from the countless dead bodies at the bottom of the tower are being drawn out. It's just how the spirits in the torture room were coming out for Casca's brand. With both Guts and Casca here, and even the egg itself, these spirits are becoming restless, and since there are so many of them, and they all spawn from the malice and negative energy as a result of the Tower of Conviction, it's like a tidal wave of bodies and spirits, sentient, and all crashing in and all over each other. The evil is rising up from below the tower, and bursting onto the surface. Azan and a group of the Holy Sea Knights see firsthand as the collective spirits burst through the base of the tower. They plan to fight it, but God knows how. The whole tower is shaking and falling apart. Guts, Jerome, Puck, and Nina make a run for it, with Farnese tripping and falling behind, but she is quickly caught by Serpico. He doesn't say a word, but we know he's always following Farnese, always there to protect her. As the tower crashes and breaks, we're given a view from Mazgus' perspective. Flying high with his angelic wings, holding Casca, Isidro still on his back, he looks down at the tower, now broken and crumbled in the shape of a hand rising out of the ground. The shape of the tower, with the base slowly being made out of the ever-rising evil spirits, and a full moon in the sky, the Tower of Conviction is now looking just like a version of the eclipse, but in our mortal world. And that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. We're drawing close to the end of the Conviction arc. I'm pretty excited to get the next couple of videos out for you guys. I really appreciate you all watching and giving these likes and thumbs up and sharing it, or anything like that, subscribing. It does really mean a lot to me. So thanks a lot for watching once again, and I'll talk to you next time.